I will start with the Rigveda Shanti Patra.
Wonderful.
Vang me manasi pratishtita, mano me vachi pratishtitam, avirāvirmaedhi, vedasyama ānīstaha, shrutam me ma prahasihi, anena dhitena, horatran, samdadhami, parutam vadashyami, satyam vadashyami, tanmam avatu, tadvaktaram avatu, avatu mam, avatu vaktaram, avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. This is Rigveda Shanti Patra. You know the translation of it, yeah?
I don't.
What it says. It says.
No, I don't either.
It says that my speech is established in my mind. Vang me manasi pratishtita. And my mind, mano me vachi pratishtita, is established in my speech. So my word and speech are established in each other. So these are two foundations of the Veda. So open to me the mind, open to me the word. And I will speak the truth. I will speak the truth. And may that increase the speaker. Increase me. Strengthen me. Strengthen the speaker. The truth which I will speak. This is a very beautiful Shanti Patra. Rigveda, it belongs to this word, articulation of consciousness through the word, the hymn. Brahman. Brahman is the hymn, the word. Yes.
Is this the opening mantra that we should recite before we study, every time we study the Vedas?
Yes, we study the Rigveda. Yeah? It's Rigveda Shanti Patra. For other Vedas, we have different Shanti Patras. For example, for Krishna Yajurveda, we have Shamno, Mitra, Shambarunaha, yeah? or Sahana Vavatu. This is Krishna Yajurveda, Taitiriya. Or for Vajasane Samhita, we have Apya, we have, Purnamadah, Purnamidam, and so on. For Samaveda, Apyayantu Mamangani, Vak Pranas, Chakshuk, Shrotram. So each Samhita has its own Shanti Patra. And when they start the recitation, you hear the Shanti Patra, and you already know what will follow. Whether it will be a Rigveda or Samaveda hymn, you will immediately know by Shanti Patra what is to follow. It's quite interesting in India, such tradition of Shanti Patras. Anyhow, did you try to look into that material which I sent you on the first hymn?
Yes, I read that. It was lovely.
Was that confusing more than it was? Because it's a kind of, or it was clarifying that what we were trying to do.
I thought it was clarifying, and it was interesting to hear your, the interpretation, of. I thought that was very interesting.
It's kind of different. It's a different interpretation than the one that I've been taught, and the one that I've been raised with, I should say.
Right.
But I liked it.
Well, you see, the point is that it's kind of my discovery, and of course it is not perfect and far away from it and so on and so forth. But still, it's a kind of something was given to you by studying it, Some understanding.
Definitely perfect.
So I'm sure that there will be as many interpretations of the hymns as perceivers of them or readers of them. Yeah? And that is okay, and that is beautiful. I think that the dynamic truth will reveal the truth in many different ways. So.
The one thing that I wanted to actually just comment on, and it may be just the fact that I don't understand the grammar very well. I don't know the grammar, and this was what I thought Penny, maybe we were going to do today. I guess we're doing something different, but when we were going to parse through the Nirukta, but when it said that the seers are the modern seers, the seers are also, there's the ancient seers bring this to me and the modern seers as well.
Right.
Remember that?
Yes, the second time.
Yeah. To me, I kind of thought, it seemed to me that you could also say, I am the seer. The seer is Madhuchanda's Vishwamitra, but also it is me. It is myself as well. So that this could be my cognition as well as. I'm not saying it very clearly. I'm a little off today myself, but
it is very clear. I also have this perception, truly speaking. I don't relate that. Of course, historically, I must, so to say, scientifically, I must speak about it as Madhuchandas, yeah. But not truly speaking, it relates to the one who reads it, who is now the reader, the rishi. The rishi is the one who sounds the mantra, yeah. So it is him. Mm-hmm. Or her. And you know that in the Rigveda there are many rishikas.
But the level of, once you get to the level where where you are a seer, you're absolutely you don't have a gender anymore. You're completely past that. I mean, in some layer of, in my teaching, Madhuchandas is actually a level of experience. Maharishi talks about Madhuchanda's experience, and it's an experience of cognition of the self. Anyway, I won't go into that, but so I am the seer as well. That as well as being modern day seer, it's I'm myself, my own Madhuchanda's consciousness.
Right. Yeah. Actually, you are speaking in the same way as Sri Aurobindo says about Krishna. He says that they represent exactly this kind of thing. They represent the typal or the typical victories on the path of spirituality, of humanity. Mm-hmm. And these typical victories are, so to say, they are representative of our own struggle and victory. And
indeed.
Yes, and in a way we recognize them through this. That's how Veda works for us. Mm-hmm. That's why it was so important for humanity to keep it. That the whole, generations and generations of millions of Brahmins were just dedicated to this, to keep the text. So the text is so important for us.
And you think the text is important because it enlivens that recognition in the listener or the knower, the reader.
Yeah, it is the victory of the forefathers. It's the victory from the beginning of time. These victories are, systematized and given a form. These are spiritual breakthroughs on the march of humanity. We need these texts because without them there is not much left. We will have only religions which are not really helpful. We need some kind of greater breakthrough, some change, some sacrifice, some transformation in it. And these are transformative texts. At least I believe so, and I'm finding the meaning in them because of that.
Because you love Agni.
Because there is meaning in it. It's not just the sound. It's not just for the sake of, cultural singing together and feeling good about one another, but it's something more than that. There is the whole philosophy, vision for us being here. Anyhow, it's nice that you found this useful text because I've kind of also found it, the first hymn of the Rigveda, very interesting. But I must confess that I never went farther than the first hymn, so to say. I never took second, third, fourth in the connection to the first hymn. I saw the connection as Sri Aurobindo gave it, but I kind of didn't have strength enough or vision or some kind of depth enough yet to really go and to connect everything into one vision. And for me, I must tell you also one thing, that every hymn is a complete vision. I already discovered this. I translated more than 300 hymns of the Rigveda for myself with depth, with all the commentaries possible to find and so on. So, and many of these you will find on our website, or University of Human Unity, in the Rigvedic study. Many of them I didn't publish, didn't put even there, and but there is enough material there to study. I have also many recordings. Over 7 years I was presenting every week, as we do it today. Every week we took one hymn and analyzed it in the Institute of Indian Psychology in Pondicherry. So we met with psychologists, and that is interesting to see, because we looked through these hymns with the psychological eyes, with knowledge of psychology, yogic psychology. And in that sense, there are many interesting discussions there. All these recordings are available somewhere. I will give you later address if you would like to go through them, browse through those hymns and see what discussions were there. But nevertheless, we can create a new study material, as we are starting today, and go through these texts again with a fresh perception, as if we never saw them before. So I never connected first and second hymn, and I never do these connections of the hymns, because every hymn is a complete vision for me. But Sri Aurobindo did, and he says that the second hymn continues the first one, and we move into Vayu domain, into the domain of the prana, of the vital energy. You remember I was telling that Agni is representative of the essence of earth. Yeah? It's something which is rising from the depth of our material consciousness. It is a willpower in the matter, in nature, which is rising and seeking its fulfillment in the divine. And in that sense, of course, it's very difficult to understand Agni. It is the heat within the nature, the heat wanting to realize its highest potential, so to say, through nature, in nature. And that's how also we discussed this with Radhe, that Agni is the son of Shiva. That's why Shiva is the divine which is supporting nature from within.
Vladimir, just hearkening back to a sentence we just did, where you said that Agni's home was the ocean. How does that fit in?
Yes, it is exactly that. So his home is deeply in the material, so to say, being.
Vladimir, I'm having trouble hearing you all of a sudden.
Okay.
Yeah, you're very soft.
Yes, that's better.
I will be closing us to the microphone.
Yeah, it's way better.
What I'm saying is that Agni, yes, it is in the depth of the material inconscient, It is that first avatar which is rising from the Vivasvat, Vivasvan, the Lord of the Sun, which is engaged in conscience. And from there is a rising of the flame of Agni. So it is even said in the Rigveda, which is very difficult to interpret, that the fire is rising up from the sun. How can it rise from the sun if sun is above? So, and that was the secret of the Veda, that there is not only a sun above, but there is sun also below. And this below sun is that divinity, or what we call Rudra, which is moving the whole evolution forward through nature. And that is Agni. But when we come upper to the domain of Antariksha, the essence of Antariksha will be Vayu. It is the fire of the linking world between heaven and earth. The space between heaven and earth, Antariksha, has also a fire in it, and that is Vayu. And Vayu is an interesting fire because it is kind of double spiral. The spiral where the beginning is in heaven and it reaches towards earth but doesn't touch the earth, touching heaven but not touching earth, and other is touching earth but not touching heaven. And these two spirals, they coexist, so to say. They move in the same dynamic range. So they connect heaven and earth, but in a very strange manner. So this dynamism between heaven and earth, or we can see it between plus and minuses, an electrical field. Yes, we will see that connection between the minus and plus. So there will be that connection of the field. That is Vayu. And it is interesting that space in between is full of fire, heat, energy, in which the whole manifestation is taking place. In Brahmanas, Vayu is called Yajna. Vayu Pavamana is Yajna. The sacrifice takes place in the space between heaven and earth.
I was just going to reiterate. In the Brahmanas, Vayu is the fire of
the essence
that occupies the space between.
Right.
So
we have three fires which have to be united according to Brahmanas. One is Agni, the essence of earth. Other is Vayu, the essence of space between heaven and earth. And the third one is Surya or Aditya, the essence of heaven. So these three fires have to be united. Once they are united, the sacrifice is fulfilled. There is nothing more to realize. So basically, yeah.
So, I mean, this may be left field, but, does this have any relationship to the fact that the Mahabhutas, Vayu is in between Akasha and Agni?
Right. It's interesting. I never thought about it, but it is with that, yes. Between heaven and the earth, so to say, the essence of earth. Yeah, this is a triple world there, these first three Mahabhutas. That is the triple world. I didn't think like this because I don't try to correspond to everything. In a way, that fire in between heaven and earth is something also very interestingly described in, for example, Taittiriya Aranyaka, where it is said that the world is created by Vishnu with the help of Indra, who split the egg, split heaven and earth into two, and there was a crack in between, and that crack was increased by the power of Vayu. Vayu is the power which moved away these two, heaven and earth. So Vishnu, by the power of Vayu, cracked the world. Yeah? And that is kind of explaining what Vayu is. Vayu is holding heaven and earth together through that space, connecting them, yeah? But holding them separately, so to say, creating another world in between. And when the fire of the sun and the Agni kind of were separated, it was kind of distributed through the Vayu as the connecting fire. So these three fires are one fire, one essence. It's very useful to have this picture at the beginning to know why Vayu is so important in, for example, Taittiriya Samhita, in the whole Krishna Yajurveda and also Shukla Yajurveda. They, for them, the major, so to say, level of consciousness or level on which they deal with reality, as the divine reality, is Vayu. They will be speaking always about this Antariksha and Vayu because this is Yajus. It's the level of Yajna where the sacrifice is taking place, and the Yajurveda is about that. It is about connecting heaven and earth. It's all about one thing, connecting heaven and earth. How to connect heaven and earth into one. How to make heaven and earth one reality. And that is Vayu.
It also seems, Vladimir, in the Rigveda that all the battles, that are fought between Indra and the other gods and the Asuric forces occur in this middle realm, occur in this atmospheric realm between heaven and earth. This is a turbulent challenge. I mean, it doesn't have a foundation, right? It's not heaven or earth. It's kind of in between in these spirals. So it seems to me to be depicted as a very volatile place in which a tremendous amount of transformation occurs here through these battles.
Exactly, very nicely said. And there's turbulent movement from below and from above. They are in resonance. And in that resonance, the whole energy comes from heaven and earth into that space where something new is being manifested or created. Moreover, the Vayu space, the Antariksha, has the entry into beyond space. And it is something which is also, which is not immediately visible, but when you study texts more, you will see that actually there is no space. There is no higher heaven than the top of the heaven, and there is no lower earth than the physical earth already. You cannot go below the physicality through the physical, and you cannot go above the heaven over heaven. And you have to go through Antariksha. There will be a passage through the crack. And through that passage, you can come into the space which will lead you below earth and above heaven. And this is something
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it is quite interesting because our heaven and earth is an egg, literally, which protects us from, as Agastya Rishi would say, from abhava, from the inconscient, from the abyss of the infinite inconscient. And for that, we need this egg. It is floating on the waters of inconscient. Heaven and earth, top and bottom.
Inconscient? Inconscious? In the
that which, yes, which is deeper than simply ignorance.
The abyss of unconsciousness?
Yes, of unconsciousness, you can call it. But inconscient is the word which Sri Aurobindo is using, so we are also
inconscient.
Which has no consciousness. So there is a depth of darkness there, very dense darkness, which we are afraid of. Our souls are even afraid of. So we need a protection. And Agastya Rishi says that heaven and earth is our fortress, protection. Our mental and physical being is our protection. It's beautiful. It's really psychologically very true. In order to be strong in psychology, we have to have a strong mind. And in order to be strong against these forces, vital forces, we have to be very well grounded in the body. And when we have nightmares in the night, we rush to wake up. Why? Because our physicality is our fortress, which protects us from these forces. These nightmares are not imaginative things. These are forces. And our fortress, physical and mental being, is there to protect us and to help us to manifest something here in this world from the forces of the beyond. And now these forces of the beyond, Supreme and those asuras, as Rad has said, they come into this space, into the antariksha, they enter through that door, through that crack, and they fight here in this world, for this world, to master it. And we can see the whole history of humanity, and even today's history, all these fights, all these influences of people, lies, all this politics, all what we have are the formations of these forces trying to get grip of man, to possess man. So basically we think that we are so, but it is not totally so. There are forces behind which are entering and always fighting for the, as Sri Aurobindo says, for our soul as a costly prize. They want our soul, our, consciousness, which will allow them to be present in this manifestation and act. So this is the Vedic.
That brings to mind, Vladimir, in the, I think it's the Brahmanas, that there's chapter after chapter about the Soma sacrifice and how the Vishvadevas have to be very careful and very mysterious about their ways and about the ways of the Soma sacrifice, because the Asuric forces are constantly trying to partake of the Soma, are constantly trying to figure out ways to dip into the delight here on earth.
Right. And Soma is everywhere. Soma is in the very existence, material existence, hidden in the plants, hidden in the juice of our matter. Our animated matter is full of this delight. Now, they want this delight. They want.
What would be so bad? What would be wrong with them having it, though? What would be wrong with them being delightful and having? Maybe they wouldn't be so vicious.
But when they partake of this delight, they do it in their own way. They build concentration camps and they kill people, torture people, rape people. They get their delight in their way. That delight, they kind of do.
That's kind of reminiscent of the story, Radha, you told in your book when the moon kind of overgorged on Soma, and instead of doing good things, he wound up kidnapping Tara. Kind of reminds me of that. So more of a less evolved. So maybe that's what the Rakshasas would do, or the Asuras would do if they would turn Soma towards their own nature.
Yeah, they want to partake of Soma, of this Soma which is divine, in their own egoistic way. So they want to enjoy this Soma for themselves alone. And that is the problem. And because Soma is not here for the enjoyment of the egoistic nature. It is for the enjoyment of the divine nature. That's why we have to distill.
Losing you again.
We have to distill Soma according to the Veda. Distill first to press out of our existence, and then distill, purify, and offer it to the forces of the higher beings, of the cosmic divine beings. And when they partake of this Soma, they widen our scope and our consciousness. And by that we grow. Now, if I produce Soma, the essence of this existence, and enjoy it for myself, I don't do the sacrifice. I just increase my ego sense, ego being. And with that, all these forces come, all these kind of Asuric and Rakshasic forces. We have the world today of this kind, Our philosophy is to enjoy for oneself, and to succeed and to be successful. All these ideas are egoistic ideas. But we do not have that sense that this soma is for everyone, and the higher beings or the higher representatives of the divine consciousness it is their kind of attraction. They come to it in order to enjoy the manifestation of the divine in matter. And once they do this, they bring with themselves all the links to other forces which are higher than we have here embodied, and they change or transform the nature and make it more receptible towards this higher, towards the divine. So that was the process.
Do they change it, or do they assist Agni in changing it?
Right. Well, Agni is them.
Okay.
Essentially, they are coming from above and from within Agni. Also interesting. He brings them from within. They are all of the nature of Agni, all these devatas. Actually, it will be even described in one hymn. I will send you the hymn where it is described that all of them are Agni and how they are Agni. Yeah? Because they are of that nature of Agni.
Well, they do later in the Brahmanas, right? They compare Agni's flames and coals in different stages to the various godheads. So that's probably the same way, different way of saying the same thing.
Yes. In the Rigveda, there is a huge hymn where it is all described. All the godheads are given this kind of characteristic of Agni.
Well, are the Asuric or Rakshasic forces? That is a distinguishing characteristic that they are not of the nature of Agni?
Right, and that is a question, a big question, an interesting one. And here we come to that thing which cannot be explained until we see where these and those are coming from. They are coming from two different stages of creation, so to say. And here something is really fundamentally interesting. There was a first stage of creation why the Rakshasas and Asuras are called the elder brothers of the gods. They were before the gods. They are, so to say, old gods. Yeah? And so they belong to the first creation, where they didn't succeed to manifest the divine and became selfish in their own, because they were given freedom to be themselves and to enjoy everything. And in that freedom, they lost their connection to the divine and fell into their opposites, these Asuras and Rakshasas and all those forces. And they built up the foundation on which the new creation took place, the second creation, where the gods came. They came to fulfill this redemption, to bring them back to their own divine awareness, to transform them, if you want, to kill them, and by killing them, to transform them, to kill their fallen form, their unconsciousness, to destroy their darkness with the light. And that is the fight between the two. Can be seen like this. But fundamentally, we have both in us, and you can see psychologically that we have in us some conscious parts, deeply conscious of the divine, and less conscious parts as physical body comes, and very selfish parts and selfish demands. So we have both of them present in our own being. We have the body, which is less conscious, and we have the soul, which is most conscious within us. and they coexist within one creation. Well, it's very briefly, but it is quite interesting that there were two stages of creation, and they are spoken of in the Brahmanas, and they are always mentioned in all the texts. These confusing texts that he penetrated or he entered himself by himself, as they say, Atman Atmanam Abhisam Vivesha. He entered himself by himself. First
he created the creation and then entered into it.
Right. So, and when he created the creation, he manifested, so to say, emanated himself. That was his first, emanation. That was his first creation. And then he entered it as if separately existing. So, to stabilize it, because it was Shithilamiva, Adhruvamiva. It wasn't stable. It was falling apart. It wasn't. So he had to enter it in order to stabilize it. And once he entered it, and that is the first avatar, or the sun within the darkness, he descended into the darkness, from where now it is rising, the heat, the fire in the nature. Nature is deeply conscious about the purpose of its own kind of evolution, but not on the surface, in the depth only. And that is the scheme of things. So here we have Vayu as that which is allowing all these forces to manifest in the world and bringing them in, and himself is the sacrifice which is connecting heaven and earth. Connection of the heaven and earth philosophically was seen also as connection of the meaning and the word. The earth was the word, the sound, and the meaning of it, artha. So the earth was vak, the mother, and artha, the meaning, was the father, the heaven. And to connect the meaning and the sound, there was something necessary, and that was grammar, the language, which Vayu represents. So the grammar connects the sound and the meaning into one. That's why we understand what we speak. And many such myths, very beautifully and later explained in Brahmanas, on this ground of heaven and earth and their separation. So, Vayu. Let us look into what is being said here. Vayav ayahi. Vayo ayahi. Vayu or Vayu come. Darshata. Beautiful. Ime soma aram krita. These streams of soma are already prepared for you. Aram krita. Tesham pahi. Of them you partake. Drink of them. Shruddhi havam. Listen to the call. Sri Aurobindo will be explaining why Vayu is invoked afterwards, after the Agni. I will read after the passage when we finish with the hymn. First I will go through the hymn. Here I'm giving the first translation of Griffith, and then it is my just interpretation, which I just typed today. To support. I will work on it and make it better. Because I worked on 3 hymns together, so I didn't have much time to make all of them. And this was the last one I worked on, so I didn't have time at all. So next sloka, Vayo, again Vayo, O Vayo, Uktebhich jarante tvam acha Jaritarach Tuta Soma Aharviddach. Vayu, it is Jaritarach, those who are praising or those who are speaking the word. They jarante, they loud or they praise. Uktebhich, by the hymns, by the words, Vam, you, Acha, directly, Sutta Soma. They are those whose Soma is distilled or pressed out. Sutta is pressed out. Soma is Soma. It is them whose Soma is pressed out. Ahirvida. Aharvida. They know the Ahar, the day. Sayana interprets it as they know the timing, but I don't like this timing. I think they know the day. They know the light, the meaning of this action.
Knowing the day, meaning the sunrise day? I mean the actual day, or you mean the time, the particular day?
Jules, you're still quite loud. So
Okay.
if you want to just and you know, if you rustle stuff in the background, it's also very loud. So just so you know, you might want to just turn your mic down a bit.
How's that?
That's much better. Thank you.
I hear you very well. It was well balanced, but maybe for Penny it's louder than for me.
Yeah, it was loud. Rade?
Well, it's tricky because to get Vladimir loud enough, we have to keep our speakers high, but then we become too loud when we talk. So I'm constantly putting it up and putting it down. It's like, it's a little bit of
Yeah.
It's a little tricky.
I understand.
No, we don't need to worry about it. Later we can really make it, when it is recorded, we can stabilize all the levels. So it's not a big deal if we want recording. And anyhow, the thing is here that with the question about the day, I think this is the day, the very day. Those who realized their higher consciousness, so to say, the rishis. And according to the mother, the mother was asked. The mother is the collaborator of Sri Aurobindo, and she was asked about rishis to give her opinion. We spoke about it already, no? And who were these Vedic rishis? Because she had an experience of Vedas and Agni, and she describes all that. And somebody asked her, and what about Vedic rishis? Who are they and where they are coming from? And she said that they were, and then she went into deep meditation and came out, and she said that they were involutionary beings, as she said. Involutionary beings, not evolutionary, not like human beings. Not like we are. We are evolving here, but they came down from the highest heights of consciousness and brought this knowledge of the Supreme here in this form for us, for humanity to follow, to know about it, to form kind of a central understanding, knowledge. And in that sense, Aharvidah are really the rishis who know the day, who know what is to be done in order to manifest the spirit. It is my kind of reflection, but Sayana speaks differently about it, so I mentioned already that he means the knowing of the timing of the sacrifice, which doesn't fit here for me. If these are rishis who are lauding the vayu, the energy between heaven and earth. Okay, and it is our vital being, yes? We are using the same language. You're using also the same vital being. It is our vitality, the level of prana, the same, yes? We understand each other when we say vital being. Our emotions, our feelings, and sensations. These are three levels of the vital being. Our heart chakra, our Manipura chakra, and Svadhisthana, the lowest.
So the heart, the mind, and
Manipura.
Manipura is mind, manas, right?
The center.
Yes, manas is interesting word, which is now we are mixing these paradigms, because Manas later means different thing than in the Veda. Manas is the center of the mentality, of the sense mentality. It's the sense mind. Yeah?
So the levels of vital being again were, you said the heart?
Anahata chakra, it is our emotions. Manipura chakra is our pure vitality or feelings, if you like. We can translate them. And the lower chakra, Swadhisthana, is what we call physical vital, which is our sensations, nervous system. And that is 3 levels of physical vital, vital, and mental vital. So we have triple vital within this vital, where the Vayu is the essence. So he is lauding Vayu, which is important for this mentality. And Sri Aurobindo will give an explanation why Vayu is lauded. And we've taken another one, Vayu tava praprinchati dhena jigati dashushe uruchi soma pitaye. O Vayu, your dhena, and dhena can have many different meanings. The cow and the word, the speech, and even I will open the dictionary and we will look into it. And dhena, give you the whole list. What's with the Sota? You see what is given: milk, cow, any beverage made of milk, mare, even river in lexicon, speech, voice, and the wife of Brihaspati. Wife of Brihaspati is definitely the word. So that dhena, your dhena, which is touching, which is reaching out, which is mixing with, jigati dashoshe, comes or approaches the giver, the sacrificer, the one who gives himself or gives his energy. Your word, and it is interesting, and it is considered to be that Vayu is the first who is speaking the word. It's also very first who is touching the word, because the Brihaspati himself is in the heart and in the middle between heaven and earth, the divinity between heaven and earth. And the word which is rising from the heart, as it is considered, the word is not coming from the mind, it is rising from the depth of the heart, is this dhena. And dhena is the wife, the name of the wife of Brihaspati. Oh, interesting. It's always good to read, to look into the dictionary. There will be always some suggestion. So this movement of consciousness approaches through Vayu, your movement of this consciousness approach, or the word approaches the giver. The penetrating stream goes forth unto the worshipper. That penetrating stream, it is here dhena, but it is Griffith. Your approving speech comes to the giver, its mind. Uruchi soma pitaye. And to many, uruchi, moving in many widely, moving widely onto others for the drinking of the soma. So Vayu is a part of our mentality. As Sri Aurobindo will explain, he will say that without vital level, our mind will not work. And everything what we speak in the mind or we think in the mind is to be supported by our vital level, our emotion, our feeling, And if there is no emotion, feeling, and sensation in our speech, then this speech is basically useless. It's impossible to have that. So it needs this support, life support. Otherwise, it will not make any change in the manifestation.
Couldn't you think of Vayu, the vital self, also as being equivalent to the atmosphere, which holds together heaven and earth? So without the atmosphere, the heaven and earth would not be. We would not be able to connect the two.
Right. It is that atmosphere which is connecting heaven and earth. Right? Well, physically, if you look at our earth and heaven, so there will be something in between which will link them together and make the common space for both, for participation of both within one brain. Yes. And the vital is like that. Vital is a very mysterious thing. By the way, prana itself is a great mystery. Life. What is life? Can anybody explain what is life and how life is? What it is? Truly speaking, I can't even define what it is. It's a great mystery. There are infinite and finite beings are kind of forming it, and it is kind of it is and it becomes at the same time. There is a dynamism and there is a static presence of it's a big mystery. So this field, common field for all the forces to project themselves, to contribute to this manifestation, is the range of Vayu, vital range where all the things take place. The level of yajna, sacrifice. So, and now he moves and invokes Indra, and this is interesting. Once Vayu was exhausted, three verses were to Vayu, and the last one was interestingly saying that the word rising from the heart is, so to say, I'm adding from the heart, because Dhyana is coming from the heart, from the depth of the heart, and spreading wide for all to drink soma, so to say, uruchi soma pitaye. And then he needs a support of Indra, and Indra is a pure mentality. It's no more vitality. We have to add mental realm of the heaven, where Indra is the Lord of Svar. Indra vayu ime suta upaprayobhih agatam indavovam ushantihi. These, let me move it into one space. I will see. These Indra and Vayu together, I'm reading the Griffiths, have been shed. Upaprayobhih agatam. Come for our offered dainties' sake. Such a language. The drops are yearning for you both. Indra and Vayu, these oblations, better libations, are poured out for you. Come here with delight to us. Prayobhih. Yeah, prayas is, I'm giving here vocabulary, is pleasure, enjoyment, delight, object of delight, drink, or the sacrificial drink. Come to us with sacrificial drinks or with the delight, both of you. Yeah? And these are the press outs, sutta, that stoma drops, or the delights which we pressed, purified, distilled and purified and offered to these higher forces of the divine. So come with your delight to our delight. Indavo vam ushantihi. And because these drops of our delights which we distilled here from this existence, they are seeking you, they are yearning for you, they want you. They kind of ushanti, or ush is from vash, to want, yeah? Desire. They desire you, vam, indeed. And it's interesting that they desire them. The drops of the delight desire these devatas. I'm moving to the next. Vayo indrashya ketanach sutanam vajani vasu tau ayatam upadravat. O Vayu, O and Indra, Chetatchach, you both, so to say, are aware, or you are conscious, Sutanam, of these pressed out delights which we offer you. Vajani Vasu. And Vajani Vasu is an interesting term. I am translating it in the tradition of Sri Aurobindo, shining with abundance of plenitude. They have shining. It is from what Vasu. Sri Aurobindo translates Vasu term in an interesting way. He combines both meanings: vas, to live in, to dwell, and to shine. He says that Vasu is a luminous dweller within the substance. A luminous dweller within the substance. It's an important term, by the way, and all the Vasu gods are also, because of that, are important. Because all the gods can be Vasu. They can come into the substance and dwell in it, and then they become Vasu. And so here they are both Vasus because they are in this substance, but with their plenitudes of the force, Vajas. Vajas is the force, which is luminous also and powerful. So Vajini Vasu, they have these mares, Vajinis, these powers which are creating the substance strong. Tau ayatam upadravat. So those two should come fast here, immediately, quickly. Upadravat, quickly. So they are aware of these drops and have to come quickly here.
Quickly, is that as in time?
Yeah, well, maybe in time and manner, not only in time, but means without delay, not step by step, not bit today, bit tomorrow, but immediately better. Totally, at once. Vayo indrascha tunvate ayatam upa nishkaritam makshu aitka dhyanara. Vayo and Indra, ayatam, come, tunvate, to the one who is pressing Soma. Now, this idea of the human being who is pressing Soma for the divine forces is the whole idea of the Veda. Yes? That means that he is here doing the work of the sacrifice. He distills, he presses out the divine delight, finds it, purifies it, and offers it to the higher purpose, to the higher force, light of consciousness, not to the lower, not to the egoistic enjoyment, but to the higher purpose of manifesting the divine. And that is very unusual, actually, for every post-Vedic tradition. You will not find this concept anymore. You will find ritualistic things, you will find mukti, you will find all kind of other things, philosophies, but not this. And psychologically, it's a very interesting concept, because this is the most difficult thing to do for us. When we have the delight, we have to offer it to the higher consciousness, not to the egoistic enjoyment. Did you notice how Indians are doing it when they eat or whatever they do? They always pray or offer to the divine. Yeah? It's very interesting. So it is still there in the ritual. Maybe
Vladimir, could you say something about why in the Vedas of all the gods it's Indra that takes most delight in partaking of the soma? It seems like in every single story and in each of the Vedas that of all the gods it's Indra, this if he represents this mental realm that
right.
that is weaned on soma and can only fight the Asuric forces once he's partaken of the soma.
Right.
So he seems to take more delight than the other gods, or comes into his own being more as a result of the soma.
Well, it is because Indra's role is like this. You know that Indra is coming from above, from Vishnu's realm. He is representing over mental consciousness here through Vishnu's consciousness from above the head, whereas Agni from below. So Indra and Agni have to meet, so to say. Indra is mentality, the action of mentality into our world from beyond. He acts with the light of the sun. He brings the light of the sun into manifestation. And because of that, he needs a support here to act and to destroy the resistance. So he would need soma most, and he needs also the support of Vayu, as he is here mentioned with Vayu, or Maruts. Maruts are his companions. It is with Maruts he destroys the Vala, he kills everything. He destroys the pans, and he releases the cows and finds the sun and new heaven and new dawn and so on. It is with the help of these vital forces. It's quite interesting. These Maruts we didn't mention yet, but Maruts are in the realm of the vital world, and they are considered to be Brahmins who are reciting the hymns of the Rigveda. They are the priests who recite the mantras in the realm of...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask in connection to what Radhe said, is Indra somehow more connected with individuality than maybe the other gods, meaning that he requires the soma in order to, he needs to be satisfied in himself first before he can distribute the soma to the higher realms, I'm wondering.
Indra has a particular role, as I always thought, that he is there to act from above, and because his thunders or his lightnings are mainly needed to destroy the enemy and the resistance, and to show with that light where we belong and what is happening here, to show everybody's true nature, so to say, to reveal to us some truth which we didn't have in being here in the darkness, so that he needed the support of the soma, which is distilled from our world. Now, if the whole conception is that we are here in this world of darkness, distill the hidden ananda, hidden delight within this material existence or this sensual existence, as Sri Aurobindo says, because it's a sensual reality, that juice, that draught within the matter, which is a living thing. Immortality is hidden in this mortality. And this immortality embodied, it's a very strange thing, this essence, ambrosia, which is wanted by all the gods. It is something which is giving them the support in this manifestation. They can be here because of that in this world of matter. Otherwise they withdraw. There is nothing here to do much, and they will not come. Yeah? If there would be no that real support, that ananda, immortality given to them for their enjoyment. So, and in that sense, of course, I thought that Indra, since it is the most active Godhead here and the most needed for our transformation and removal of all the enemies, because he represents the action of heaven from above the head, from above, and that the light of the sun. So how that light will come into our darkened world, into our lower hemisphere, it is through Indra only. There is no other way. So Indra represents all those actions of the pure light into our lower hemisphere. So that's why there are so many hymns to Indra, the biggest amount of hymns in the Rigveda. Because he, on behalf of other gods, he acts within our lower hemisphere. And that's why he is their Lord also. He is the Lord of the gods. And because he represents them in action, not just sitting there on the throne, but he is acting on their behalf, down onto our earth. It is the same as the fire, Agni, represents all the gods from below rising.
What are the gods from below?
Well, these are the same gods.
Okay, good.
I know it sounds.
It makes sense. I understand. I
Thanks for clearing that up.
Well, I do understand that because that's our experience.
Right.
That's our experience because we have because we have both characters. We have both natures embodied in our being. We are both of those things.
Right. The thing is that what it will explain to you that the sun below and the sun above is the same sun. If we see that, we will understand that the gods which are rising from the fire and coming from Indra's side are actually coming from the same sun. Sun shining in the darkness below and sun shining above the head and from within the heart. This is the same sun.
Could you say that another way, in that the what is inside of us, the sun or the light that is inside of us, is the same light as is in the creation, and which brought about the creation, but one is deep inside, deep within, and the other is manifest out into creation.
Right. Yes. We have three, so to say, ways of the sun to shine. One is shining from above, and so to say, from where Indra represents him, and the other is shining from within the heart, where Brihaspati represents him. Another is shining from below, from within the matter, from within the nature. And that is Rudra, or Shiva, represents where Agni is acting. So we have these three movements of the of the Godhead, and they are three simply differently located or viewed the same Godhead. And that's why we call him by different names. But he is the one and the only one, within whom all this manifestation is taking place. So
this brings up this question I was going to ask earlier, because I was interested in the three levels of fire. The fire from the material, and the fire from the Vayu realm, the Antariksha, and then the fire in heaven. And I was trying to place the different manifestations of light. So this is kind of where I think you're going. And then I was trying to think of it in terms of Surya, which seems to me is in the Antariksha level, because Surya is Ka. But there's the ultimate divine light, which is the heavenly light, which all of those levels of light are a reflection of, it seems. The light in our eyes, the light in our hearts, the light in our faces, the luminosity. All of these seem to be expressions of that one all-permeating divine light. Is that?
Well, you shifted the paradigm. You moved.
I guess.
Yes. You moved towards into post-Vedic literature period.
Uh-huh.
And here definitely the sun is something else. It's one of the stars or whatever. Kind of in the Jyotish also you will have him sun differently viewed than in the Veda. In the Veda, it is the ultimate source. Yeah. The whole thing, say the supramental being, if you like, from which everything manifested. So that sun, which is below and above and within, is the source of the divinity, which is the rays of which is the manifestations here. So
is it Surya?
Yeah, it is Surya. Yes. And I would need, of course, I was giving these presentations before, and Julia, you were not there, but we stopped them because there was Sri Aurobindo, and I was trying to to show this Vedic vision where why Surya and what Surya represents. He represents all seven brothers. He is the seventh one, yeah, of Adityas. And who is Aditi and who is Diti, and how these two relate, because it's important for the Rigveda, the infinite consciousness, Aditi, and Diti, the finite or dividing consciousness, the two sisters, the infinite and finite mother, so to say, of the universe. And here they have something to say, these Adityas, and Surya as representative of all seven brothers, of all of them, of Sat Chit Ananda, yes, or Sat Chit Tapas Ananda, and triple supermind, or Daksha, Amsha, and Surya, and they are all mentioned in the Rigveda, all these Adityas. So every next Aditya is representing previous one also. It's quite interesting. The system was very sophisticated of this knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But we will come to it step by step, I guess, and through hymns we will discover them and read a lot of quotations which will help us. So here we have, yes, I finished with this or not?
I'll just mention for Julia, if I don't know if you still have access to that original Dropbox that had the first two sessions that Penny Shri and I had taken with Vladimir. But if you do, you might want to listen to it, because Vladimir goes into this whole schism quite a bit in those two. So that'll give you a little background.
Thanks, Radhe. I think I do have it. I have
Just
to
email if you don't. I'll be happy to send you.
Downloaded. If it didn't download, would it still be available?
Yeah, it's still there.
I have the link anyway.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, it's kind of useful, I thought, at least.
Very.
For me, it was very useful. Without it, I would not be able to really kind of navigate in this whole data. Because, but with that, it helps you to navigate and see where you are and how you relate different godheads and their doings. So here we have Vayu and Indra mentioned again, who have to come to the stealing or pressing out his delight and offering them. Upa nishkritam. Nishkritam is arranged everything, yeah? To that which is prepared, arranged by the presser of Soma. Come here, all the heroes, Nara, with this mental power to hold. The he is a higher mentality which may hold the image of things. And Sri Aurobindo says the interesting thing that he says that Indra is necessary to hold the delight which is there in the level of Antariksha, on the level of Vayu. If Indra comes and Indra and Vayu together, then they can hold the whole sacrificial process together, and the transformation can take place. If Indra is not there, the holding, the he is not there, and then it may fall back into oblivion. And after that, there will be an invocation of two godheads of the Superman, of these Adityas, of the Supreme, of the Sun, of Mitra and Varuna. It is even a higher level. It's already transcendental to Indra's realm. Once Indra and Vayu holding the sacrifice, and it is established, as Sri Aurobindo explains, then there has to be a deeper and a more luminous achievement, realization of Mitra and Varuna. And there are three verses to Mitra and Varuna. Mitramu ve putadaksham varunam charishadasam dhyam gharitachi sadhanta. I invoke Mitra of pure discernment, Putadaksha, Puta, purified Daksha and discernment, and Varuna, the devourer of enemies, Rishadasam, Rishadasa, Varuna, supporters of the luminous thought here, Dhyam Gharita Chi Sadhanta. Sadhanta, those who help to realize the Dhi, the luminous mentality, Gharita Chi, full of Gharita. And Gharita, first time we meet here, it is this, you know what is Gharita? It's Ghi, is this the essence of the knowledge, or the, as Sri Aurobindo says, and the luminous mentality. So it is full of luminous mentality, or even he will put it mentalizings, make a word for it, mentalizing. And the next word, verse, Ritena mitra varuna, rita vridha, rita sprisha, kratum brihantam ashathe. Mitra and Varuna are growing here by the truth. Rita vridha. They are growing by the truth, or they are supporting the truth, or strengthening the truth. Both translations are possible. And by the truth, they realize the vast power of will. Ashathe kratum brihantam. They who touch the truth of Rita Prasha. I will make better translations afterwards. It's just the first. Okay. So you see already this concept of Rita, which we don't have in post-Vedic literature anymore. Rita is the dynamic truth. We have only Satyam afterwards. Satyam and Ritam, they are synonyms only. There is no distinction between Ritam and Satyam. Satyam is that which is, from root af, to be, and Ritam is from root ri, to move. We can say a rhythm is like a rhythm or something, a rhythm. There is a dynamism, a rhythmic pulsation within the manifestation, which is true. And that concept disappears in post-Vedic literature. But it is indispensable for manifestation of the divine in matter. And that's why the whole concept of manifestation of the divine in matter also disappears in post-Vedic literature. What we have in the post-Vedic literature is only the moksha, mukti, leaving the nature unchanged and going away to some absolute beyond, dissolving oneself in some kind of Brahman. But not in the Veda. In the Veda, it is important to manifest the divine in matter. And that's how this rhythm is important, the dynamic truth, which is doing it. Just because of this rhythm, it is possible.
So Satyam is a stable truth, and Ritam is a dynamic truth?
Right.
So the concept of Ritam in Upanishad?
It is still there in the older Upanishads. In the Vedic sense, in the older Upanishads had this view still, but after that, there is no distinction anymore between the two. And we are using today in classical Sanskrit, we are using Ritam as a synonym of Satyam. There is no distinction.
But it's more, Satyam is more of a silent internal truth, and Ritam is more of a functional truth. Is that it?
Satyam is more of that which is, yes? That which is. So it is not something which is dynamically pulsating. It is a kind of static truth, yeah? Us, from root us to be, that which is. And that rhythm is that which becomes.
Okay.
But it is also true.
So is that why it said Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman?
Yes. We have also other statement which is even more interesting. Satyam Ritam Brihat. And Sri Aurobindo says this is the formula of the triple supermind. Satyam Ritam Brihat. Satyam, the static truth first, what is from Sat. Ritam is the truth of the consciousness force, yeah? Chit Tapas or Chit Shakti, and Brihad, the vastness or the Ananda.
Huh.
So
I hadn't heard that.
Brihat is what?
Brihad is vastness or the infinity.
Big. Like Brihat, Parashara.
And here it is mentioned also, Kratom Brihantam Ashate. Brihantam, the vast Krato, the vast power, willpower. Om Vame Manasi Pratishtita Mano Me Vachi Pratishtitam Aviravirmaeni Vedasyamani Sthaha Shrutam Me Ma Prahasihi Anena Bhitena Horatran Samdadhani Ritam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti
Shanti.